Hello everybody and welcome to Auto Auction Rehab's Evals and Flips. My name is David and this is my very first attempt at a YouTube channel, so be gentle. I want to explain a little bit about what this channel is going to be about, and as you're looking at some photos of my 70 Chevy C10 project vehicle that I've been working on, we'll go over a little bit about what I did with that, as well as what we have planned for the channel. So the plan for the channel is that we will be going to auctions, evaluating vehicles, deciding on what it is we want to buy and bring to the channel, and then bring those vehicles home, clean them up, work on what needs to be worked on, make them roadworthy and reliable the best we can, and sell them on. In the meantime, when we have the opportunity, we will be working on the 70 Chevy and going through some of the process of putting it on the road in a reliable manner. So let's get started with that. I bought this vehicle sight unseen from a gentleman in South Dakota, and I was going to drive this back to Texas, but family issues occurred and I wasn't able to drive it, so I hired somebody to trailer it home for me, which is probably a very good idea. I don't like driving with no brakes, and this thing had no brakes. It had one brake. I think it was the right front that was working a little bit. So it's probably good that I didn't try and drive it all the way home. Anywho, I get it home and my garage was delayed, and so the vehicle arrived before the garage was built. And I said, well, let's get started on getting some stuff done. What are we going to do with this project? Well, we're going to make it go. We're going to make it stop, and we're going to make it look somewhat decent. Well, before we should make it go, we probably ought to make it stop, since I'm working out in the driveway, and, well, that's what I could do out in the driveway, so that's what we did. So we took everything apart, and that was a bit of a problem. All the drums were rusted onto the axles. The brakes themselves, the rear brakes, were just extremely tight. They'd been adjusted up to the point where you couldn't pull the drums off. Ended up having to go to Harbor Freight, pick up a 5-ton hydraulic puller, and pop those things off. I tried heat, I tried hammers, I tried bigger hammers, I tried swearing with bigger hammers. Nothing seemed to work. Got that 5-ton puller, 3 pumps with that thing, and pop, they came right off. Of course, I had probably worked them loose in the hour and a half or so that I was beating on them with a big hammer. Anyhow, so we get the brakes off, and I realized, wow, this is why the vehicle doesn't stop very well, because there's no brakes on the back. Cylinders were totally shot. The brake shoes were down to the metal. The brake drums, I'm surprised they hadn't fallen apart. So, right, what are we going to do? We're going to rebuild the entire braking system to have something reliable. Once all the parts were removed, I took the larger parts and sandblasted them with a little canister sandblaster on the pad that I had built for the shop that was yet to be built. Cleaned them up real good, removed the upper and lower ball joints, sandblasted them, painted them with the Duplicolor, put all new bushings and control arm bushings in, and put it all back together. Touched up with some spray paint, and then started putting the rest of it together. So once the brakes were all done, all the new front end suspension was put together. I got some new wheels from Tire Rack, new wheels and tires, put them on there. Looks really good, fits really well. And then I said, well, the next part of this project is going to be the bed. So I removed the old rotten wooden bed, which wasn't too difficult. A nice pry hammer and the death wheel helped me out a lot. Just pried up the boards, cut the bolts off, broke the boards apart by hand, and then realized that all of the cross pieces were completely rusted through on either end. I don't know how the bed stayed on the truck, to be quite honest. There wasn't any single piece of wood in that truck that wasn't rotten to the point where you could just break it by hand. So, what do we do to fix that? Well, spend hours and hours in the wood shop trying to machine something to fit based on the specs that I found online, or go to mark.com, order a new set of boards and hardware. From Brothers, I got the metal strips to hold it all down, and I also ordered the cross pieces. And to prep the boards, what I did, they came already pre-sanded, and I used since I'm going to paint the truck probably a medium or dark gray, I decided to put a little gray tint into the boards for the bed. And I used an old gray stain, and I put it on and then immediately wiped it off, so it left just a little bit of a hint of gray in the wood. And then I let that dry for a couple of days and then sprayed on with true HVLP spray gun a spar varnish. And what that is varnish that's used on boats that are seaworthy, so that the seawater doesn't ruin the wood. So I thought, you know what? That's probably going to be sufficient for my wood bed in the truck, so that's what I did. And I think, for an amateur such as myself, it turned out pretty darn good. So the next arduous task on this project is then going to be cleaning up the frame, replacing all of the lines to the back brakes, prepping and painting. I don't know if painting is the right word since I'm using POR 15. I guess it is a paint, but it's paint over rust, the 15th version. People say, oh, you can't use POR 15 because it's not UV protected. Well, it says that right on the can. But if you read the instructions, it says if you're going to put it on someplace that is exposed to the sun, please use the top coat, which is a UV protecting. So that's what I did. And that's where I'm going to leave this video. And I know you're going to say, hey, that's really not a video because it's a bunch of pictures. Well, I didn't decide to make videos until after I had gotten to this point. So hopefully on the next one, when we come to look at the project truck, the project muscle truck, since I've already got a new heart for this thing and a new transmission sitting in the garage with it. Blueprint Engines hooked me up with a 400 horsepower 350. I'll explain more about that later. I've got a street strip transmission, new torque converter. I need to have a drive shaft made. There is a lot to do on this before we even think about interior and bodywork. So stay with me, like and subscribe, give me a thumbs up. I know this is not going to be the best video you've ever seen. Give me a thumbs down. Give me a comment. Any ideas on anything that you've seen so far that I could have done better, or any questions that you may have, by all means, drop them down there in the comments. Look forward to hearing from everybody. And you all take care, and we'll see you on the next one.